Welcome to Tower10.com. Today we're going to take a look at a keyboard. And this is a keyboard from CoolerMaster. And CoolerMaster is a company you're typically associated with, like cooling systems, like fans, CPU coolers, even power supplies, things like that. But they've recently been getting into keyboards and gaming accessories. And so what we have here is this is their SK630. And you can see from this box here, it is a Tenkeyless keyboard, which means it doesn't have the numeric keypad and those other functions at the back. So it's a smaller size keyboard. It's also mechanical, and it is a low profile mechanical that actually has these interesting Cherry MX low profile keys. All right, so this is exciting because I've always wanted a low profile keyboard, because I feel that the standard mechanical ones are a bit on the too high side, and they're good and everything, but I don't know, I think they're not great ergonomically for your wrists. And so, all right, so let's take a look at what we get in the box here. Okay, so got the outer box off. Open this up. All right, so we see here. All right, we have a black felt bag, which is really nice. And this bag is actually something you can carry the keyboard in. It's got little ties at the end to keep it closed, which is really cool. So let's see. Well, inside here we also have inside the keyboard we have the instruction manual with the various different function keys for programming the various lighting systems that are on the keyboard. And then in here, I'm guessing it's just a cable. But yep, so we have a nice nylon braided cable that goes to a USB-C end, which is probably what the keyboard uses, and it goes to a Type A USB connector for your computer. And then we have a key puller if you want to pull the keys out. So that's kind of a nice ad right there. So let's take a look at the keyboard itself. Let's look at this out. All right, so here we are. Let's look at the keyboard itself. So, once again, it is a very low profile keyboard. Now this gold thing here is actually not really gold. It's actually some tape that's used to protect the edges of this for shipping. And you can see from here it's an aluminum base below this where the keys are, and you can kind of see how the keys are here. You can see in this view here, and they are. Well, you got the red capped Cherry MX switches on there. All right, and then the Cherry switches, they don't make clickety noises. They're actually a smooth, kind of a linear feel to them, and they feel actually really good to type on. They actually feel really good. Got a nice good feedback to them. Just enough resistance. All right, and once again, it's very low, so you don't really need a wrist rest like some of the larger ones. And then looking at the keyboard itself here, we have the feet at the bottom. Looks like there's no flip out thing to make it any taller, but you got the rubber feet there to keep it on the desk, and then the various different function keys that are available here. Let's see, we have the inverted T for the arrow keys. We have your standard insert home, page up, del, end, and page down, your print screen, lock screen, and your scroll lock, and your pause, and then your standard row of function keys up here. Now, underneath all these are different various functions that you see. So I'm not sure what they all do yet. I have to go through the manual, but there's things like, looks like red, green, and blue for the color of the keys, maybe the amount of lighting for the keys. And then over here, what's important, I think, over here, that a lot of keyboards, some of the other ones I've seen don't have, some of the ones I've seen don't have media keys, and this actually has a set of media keys, which is really important, I think. So I use them a lot, and not having them would be a real pain. So right for your volume up and down, you have next, previous, stop and play, and pause. So it's nice to have those there on that side. And then following standard setup, we have the control Windows key here, Alt, and I'm guessing this key is probably an FN key. All right, so, and then a sizable caps lock and the enter key. All right, so let's go and hook this up and see what it's like. All right, so let's take a look at using the built-in software. Now, the keyboard itself does not really require the software to function. Now, you can use this FN key over here with various different key combinations to basically change colors, change profiles, pretty much do everything that the software does. But obviously, changing the profiles, there's some preset ones over here, and just by changing them, with the different key presses, I can modify the colors a little bit here and there. But it's a little bit, I think it's a little bit more cumbersome, a little harder to use. So let's take a look at using the actual software. So let's go, and you can see from here we'll launch the SK630 software. Now, CoolerMaster software, there's a portal portion, and it detects what keyboard you have, and then installs the software for the proper device. And so I'm going to move this to the side so we can kind of see both the keyboard and the software at the same time. Now currently I have reactive fade enabled, so it kind of represents the keyboard on the screen here represents what we see down here. And there are different settings. So right here we have the LED settings. There at the top across here are different macros. Now if you want to record macros, they can be very useful for MMOs or more complicated games that have required different key combinations. You can do that here. There's a key map where you can remap certain keys, disable certain keys, and so forth here. And then there's the 4 different profiles that you can use and save. So if someone else uses your computer, or you have a different profile for certain games, you can do so. I'm not going to get that involved with this. I don't have that kind of patience to kind of tweak around with that much. But the part I care about most is just this part here, changing the LEDs. Now looking over here, we have the keyboard over here shown here, and then there's a color section here. Now let's just go and choose static. Now what's really cool is that using the software here will automatically represent the changes right on the keyboard below. So for example, I can toggle the different colors. Let's say bring it a little brighter, or let's go yellow. I can just change the yellow, and you can see down below that the keys themselves change to reflect those kinds of changes, which is really kind of cool. So static is boring. That's just same plain old color. But there's other ones like a rainbow wave. Okay, so you can you can see the keyboard below has colors that swash across. You can change different directions for that if you so desire to. Crosshair is an interesting thing where you can hit a key and it kind of draws across vertical and horizontal across the keys there. Then there's reactive fade, which I kind of like, is the ability to have a background color here, like this is green, and then reactive key color. When you hit the key, it will be like kind of a bluish, but let's change it to like a red, for example, just kind of make it really stand out. So if I hit a key here, you'll see that it does so. So it's kind of neat. And then there's a custom. You can do some different custom key colors for various keys. So in this example here, there's some purples and reds and yellows. You can see they're represented down here. Alright, and some other ones down here like star, and you see it kind of does a interesting little glittery type of thing effect below. Color cycling, okay, so the colors go. Breathing, which kind of has the keys go in and out, which is an interesting effect if you want to have that. Rippling effects. So all different sort of things you can play around with, but I'll just basically use the reactive fade, and we'll just go with that one. I'll hit apply, and then it's going to apply the changes to the profile, my profile 2, onto the keys end, and it's ready to go. All right, so that's a quick look at the software for how to control and customize the keyboard to your desires, and let's go ahead and play a game. All right, so I'm going to be playing Far Cry 5 New Dawn. It's a game I've been playing for a little while, and I do enjoy it. I know a lot of folks that watch my channel are big into Destiny, Overwatch, and other games like that, but frankly I'm not very good at those, and so I'll just play the game to kind of show off what the keyboard is like. Once again, I have down here the view of it in a inverted setup, so you can kind of see the keys a little bit better than if it was facing me. So alright, so let's continue on. Alright, so where was I here? Let's see. Let's go and let's go clear out an outpost. Alright, so I got ratio with me. Let's see.
The radar station's back in Highwaymen hands. They beefed it up with their elite fighters this time around.
Ammo. Weapon here. Armor piercing weapons. Alright, so what I got here. This level. Oops. Oh, wait. I screwed up. Oh, totally messed that up.
Reinforcements are on their way! They're below us. We're surrounding the area!
Last guy. Somebody left me here. There.
Hit him from the side!
There we go. There we go. Alright. Not quite as stealthy as I wanted to, but there it is. So, just playing this game with this keyboard, it's just very, very comfortable. I'll have to say that. The nicest thing about this keyboard is just it's very, very light touched, so I don't have to push down very much on the keys to make things happen, so it feels really good to use. So for gaming, definitely a nice plus. I can just lightly touch and things happen. Pet my pig. Alright. So, as far as gaming goes, it's very, very comfortable to use. I don't feel tired at all. I was playing this earlier for a longer period of time with this keyboard, and it does feel really good to play. It's just, I really have no complaints about the way it plays. So, let's go take a look at a non-gaming related type of activity with this keyboard and see how that is out. Alright, so let's take a look at using WordPad as a simple application just to do some typing. Alright, so So what I can tell you about the way the keyboard feels, it definitely is very sensitive. And the thing is, the keys are kind of big. The surface area of the keys are large, and that's a plus and minus because I've gotten used to keyboards that have less surface area, and so because they're kind of close and they're big like that, I kind of tend to kind of cross over, and it's probably maybe my skill as a typist isn't all that great, but I do make a fair number of mistakes on this keyboard, and Partly it's because of the way the Cherry MX keys are. They're very sensitive because you don't have to forcibly get a click out of them to press them completely to get a response. So if I was using the F key here, just kind of like just to tap a little bit, just a little tap here, we'll get a response. And so they're very, very sensitive in a way. So for gaming, it's really, really very good. For typing, I make a lot of mistakes because of the sensitivity, just because a simple tap will get it to register. So as a keyboard for typing, I don't know. I have some reservations about it, only because I think it's something I can probably get used to, but it's one of those kind of things that just doesn't seem to be as comfortable as a typing keyboard than it is more of a gaming thing. So I can play games on it really, really well, but typing for programming. So it can be a little on the challenging side from what I feel. Now, it's one of those things that it may not be an issue for you, but for me, I think for gaming side, it's great. For like say doing my day-to-day programming work, it might be a little bit kind of a tougher sell for me, just because I think it might be because my fingers aren't as large, so that I can't get to all the parts as easily than with a smaller keyboard. But that's kind of the experience that I'm having with the typing experience of this keyboard. But once again, the keys are very, very responsive. It doesn't take a lot of pressure to make them trigger, and that might be the reason why I have a bit more problems with them. And because the keys are so square, there's not a whole lot of space between them, so that that I can easily kind of collide over and walk over different spots of the keyboard accidentally. And once again, though, it could be just a matter of just getting used to it. The more I use it, probably it'll get better. But for right now, it's a bit harder for me to use as a typing keyboard versus just a plain gaming keyboard. Alright, so let's take a look at how the CoolerMaster compares to some keyboards I have. Just a physical comparison here to the Logitech Pro I have up here. You can see that the keys actually are up here actually bigger than this, because these are flat squares compared to these ones that kind of taper a little bit. So that in itself makes the keyboard look larger in a sense than this. Now, physically speaking, though, the Logitech is a bit taller, because there's a large block area up here that's just not on the compact CoolerMaster here. The interesting thing about it is that the height of the keyboards isn't all that dissimilar. So if I kind of tilt this up here, you can notice that from this side view, the keyboard is only slightly smaller. So the CoolerMaster is only slightly smaller than the Logitech. But the one difference is that the CoolerMaster tapers down, so that makes a big difference when you're kind of using it on a table, because your hand is resting on the table, and it's just a bit more easier to get to it, as opposed to the Logitech, which is kind of a flat rectangle. And so the fact that the Logitech doesn't include a type of wrist rest, which is kind of an oversight on their part, makes it a little bit harder to use. You're kind of more angled and less comfortable, in my opinion. So the other thing, looking at this keyboard, there is nothing on the back for making the keyboard stand at different angles, which is I think is a bit of oversight. The Logitech, of course, has this kind of double one where you can kind of get it to a more sharper, steeper angle, or you have another option in between, which is a bit smaller. So it's kind of nice to kind of have that option. Functionality-wise, they're very similar. Logitech also has their own software to go with it. The one interesting thing I found is that this guy, the CoolerMaster, does not have a mute button. The MIDI controls are on Logitech are up here, and they have a mute low-high. And this one has a low-high up here, but there is actually no mute, which is kind of a funny, interesting oversight on CoolerMaster's part. And not that big a deal. You just can't immediately mute. You just kind of toggle it and lower the volume gradually, as opposed to kind of hitting a button, putting it to mute. So may or may not be an issue for you. All right, so interface wise here, we have a micro USB with this little kind of custom connector. Not a big deal, but if you don't have the connector, another one will fit in pretty easily. The one thing about the CoolerMaster is that their connector is USB-C, and it's kind of recessed in this little kind of hole here, and it is kind of restrictive. So if you don't have theirs, some of the other ones that you might be able to use are a little too small to get in there. So that's something kind of a bit of a unfortunate thing there. So comparing it to something else I have Bluetooth keyboard I use on a regular basis. This is the Logitech K810. It's a fantastic Bluetooth keyboard, and I do game with it occasionally, and so it's not too bad. I haven't found any issues gaming with a Bluetooth keyboard, and this is a really nice keyboard I use for daily driver as far as programming, as well as occasional gaming on this thing. Now obviously way smaller, okay, and of course it's wireless, Bluetooth, and battery powered, and so that makes a big difference for size. All right, so this is way smaller and more onto the desk. Travel distance is much slimmer than this, but obviously this is a more sensitive, so travel distance isn't not quite as important because the cherries are so sensitive. Functionality wise, this has a lot of media keys, but of course, it lacks the dedicated insert home, page up and down keys that this guy has here, that are sort of, you can use the FN keys for on this keyboard. Now it's kind of a weird in comparison, but it is one of the ones I use on a regular basis, so it's kind of good to see the differences there. All right, so there you have it. A look at the CoolerMaster SK630, compact 10 keyless mechanical gaming keyboard with Cherry MX keys, and the Cherry MX keys are really nice keys, very sensitive, really comfortably used for gaming for long term. Typing, for my opinion, is a bit on the so-so side because the keys are kind of close together, they're square, and the cherries are sensitive, so they are a bit unforgiving when it comes to pressing the wrong key and getting responses back. The keys themselves also are a bit of a oil magnet. You can see from here, the keys themselves have gotten pretty oily on the ones that I've used. So it seems like it's just a magnet for that type of thing. So it's unfortunate that it's like that. So other than that, it's a pretty nice keyboard. Something for you to consider. If there's something you haven't seen or questions you might have, feel free to leave some comments below. And once again, like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.